On this week's podcast of Young Creatives, we talk with Mikayla, Christian, and myself about our dream jobs, if we have dream jobs, and what we do to prep for them. Hope y'all enjoy.
Here at Revision Marketing Group, our team of young professionals get it. Created with youth in mind, we strive to educate, inspire, and promote authentic creativity across all job fields. This is Young Creatives.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Young Creatives podcast. Today we have the 3 revision ladies, which we have never had before on the podcast, which is super exciting. We have Christian here and the wonderful Sarah. Okay, well, today's episode, we're going to go over a couple different things, but the biggest thing that we wanted to touch on is considering like how young we are with being in the job, and I know, Christian, this was your first big girl job, quote unquote, as far as myself too. Sarah, is this your first professional industry job?
No, Sports Spectrum, where I work at right now, is like a manager and receiving shipping person. I definitely would say that's like my first big girl job.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's like up to 40 hours, so I'm not working like over.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're still at Sports Spectrum. Mm-hmm. So technically we're all within our first jobs of being professionals in the industry. So what we kind of wanted to talk about with this episode was essentially with what we're learning now in these jobs, whether it be we want to stay in this industry, we don't, obviously things change. What are we learning here in this specific job field that we're in right now that will eventually go to our dream job?
I'm kidding. So my dream job is to do nonprofit. So any type of nonprofit work. I want to have my own nonprofit in the future. So how does that look? I'm not sure yet.
Okay. So with your nonprofit, is there something you specifically want to gear it towards?
Yeah. I think there are a lot of like programs for women and children specifically, but I want a bunch of stuff. So I want something specifically for, like middle school, high school girls, really black girls, and like underserved neighborhoods, because there are so many of those. Mm-hmm. So.
Okay. Sarah?
I really don't know what my dream job is. I feel like the last few years I've definitely struggled with that, especially like coming out of college with a degree that at the end of it, I honestly was so tired and kind of burnt out a little bit, just because I also only had a very small view of what I could do with that.
Yeah.
And some of that may have been just like not having enough confidence in myself, or like wanting to put myself out there and try something new. I think a lot of it was that, but I just started thinking of more broad ideas of what I could do, and I was considering going back to school until I started applying to jobs again, because I kind of just felt like I needed to do something new, and I wanted to do like psychology, like criminal psychology, and get my master's in that, which I'm not saying I won't do that one day, but I don't know. I like the idea, though, of being interested in several things, because it almost sets up where you're not as disappointed if that one thing doesn't work out, too. And I also feel like my skills could go to, they could go down several different avenues. Mm-hmm. So, what about you, Mikayla?
No, I think that makes sense. I don't know if I have a dream job, if I'm going to be honest. Like, I just don't know if I have, like, something I want to do the rest of my life.
Like, if money wasn't an option, like, what would you do every single day? Like, no matter how much you got paid to do it.
I just don't know if I, like, appeal to something of doing the same thing every day.
Every single day.
Like, routine is comfortable, but I don't think I would want to do it for 20 plus years.
That's so interesting though, just to like the shift in like mindsets from like our generation to our parents, because they don't understand that at all.
Yeah.
Like I was talking to one of my friends and he was saying that his parents are just so comfortable as long as he has a job and he's making like at least $50,000 a year, his parents are like, okay. And he's like, but that doesn't make sense because I'm not happy.
Right.
And a lot of like everybody older than us doesn't really get that.
Right.
When we were talking to someone here at the Office Hub, I think I told her about me wanting to do nonprofit work, and she was like asking me about pay, and I was like, oh, I don't care about pay. And she was like, yeah, most millennials don't.
I think it's because, one, social media has opened up so many opportunities for us to see people with other kinds of jobs, and then also to make up our own jobs, like things that niches that people wouldn't even think they would want someone to do that for them. But now, you know, we just want everything now. Yeah. So we just want somebody to do every different thing, which is awesome. But I think also it must be that I see my parents, like how they raised me to kind of, they wanted me to just be able to take care of myself. Mm-hmm. And for them, my dad like worked 2 jobs that he did not enjoy. And that was because he had 4 kids all like within 6 years of each other. And so for him, it was just about providing. So,
right.
And I also feel like people that might even be a little more bitter too, when they're like, that are older than us, they might see it as like, we don't really have a right to that. Like, you just need to get work done and work hard, and then maybe you'll be happy eventually. Yeah. Like, maybe you can save up money, and then you'll be happy when you retire or something like that.
Right.
But I think for us, we just see people like having a good time with their jobs and enjoying it, and so it's like, why would we not want to do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's definitely a...
Why do we have to wait until retirement to enjoy
life?
Right.
Mm-hmm. That concept's insane to me. But.
Right. There was this girl actually on TikTok, and I'll find the video, but she said that she has a non-traditional retirement plan, and she explained it as she works for 4 years, or she works for however many years, let's say it's 1, 2, however many, and she saves X amount of dollars a month to take a full year off. So if I worked 2 years and then I had a year off, I would have to save this amount of money each month to have a sustainable...
That actually makes a lot of sense to me.
Which, like, I think it's actually really smart.
It just takes a very disciplined person to do that.
Yeah.
Also, someone who's able to save that much money. Yeah. Like, you'd have to have a pretty high-paying job to begin with. And then, sounds like that person must not have any anxiety. I don't know. Maybe they're just really good about... Yeah. Because for me, I'd be like, I will run out. And then you got to find a new job after that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess if you're, like, good enough at what you do, then...
Yeah.
Maybe that's a little bit easier.
I feel like that's just, like, hard because, like, depending on, like, what job field she's in, too, like, if you're happy at your job, would you want to quit even though you had that plan?
Yes.
Why?
I think I'm going to be saying this the whole episode, but I don't like working. Like, I work because I have to provide for myself, and because society says, like, you're supposed to, and you work because you, like, I work personally because I have to. Like, I have bills, I have things that I have to take care of. Does that mean that I don't enjoy what I do? Absolutely not. But I'm doing this because I have to. Like, I have other things that I have to get done. Mm-hmm. So this is a must.
So, like, the difference between that and, let's say you had all the money you needed, you would just go volunteer, like, or you would just go ahead and start a nonprofit?
Absolutely.
So that wouldn't feel like work, though? Mm-mm. Okay.
Yeah.
So, from you having the nonprofit dream, and then you just kind of figuring it out with me, like, how are, whoever wants to take it first, how are you challenging yourself to potentially get closer to it, or, yeah, I guess just get closer to it in general?
So before I, like, had really set and decided that it was, like, nonprofit that I wanted to do, I was just kind of, like, all over the place, not really knowing. I was, like, super comfortable, like, where I was. I wasn't really challenging myself. But like since I've decided that it's like nonprofit that I know that I want to do in the future, I just don't know like what avenue or like how it's gonna look. I start doing the volunteer work with CASA because that's pretty much me working with children, and that's me like working with social workers and just people in that industry. And just like that way I'll have like experience and also like connections as far as like when I have questions in the future, because it takes like a village of people to put together something like great. So that, and then like even with real estate school, I know that I want my own. So being able to like, or knowing of different areas that have like all these abandoned homes, or just, yeah, like again, like that's just like having like points of references, because with real estate, I know in the future, opening up like a hospitality house or a friendship home, being able to know of like these pieces of real estate myself and not having to like go through a third party will benefit me as well.
Right.
So like just pretty much setting myself up in those different areas will help me in my future.
That's really smart. I'm not that organized or prepared.
But none of it came like on like purpose. I literally woke up January 1st and said, okay, I'm going to go to real estate school. And then I wrote the blog for Clean Water Shreveport for CASA. And I was like, this is cool. And then I literally started thinking about it, and then my goal and what I want to do with life. And I was like, this is all aligning. But it wasn't purposely done. It was just kind of like, oh, this is an interest, I'll try this. And this is an interest, I'll try this. And then me just trying out these different things. It's like, oh, this makes sense because it's aligning with what I want to do in the future. Mm-hmm. It's like putting yourself out there pretty much.
Yeah. That's interesting. How about you?
I think that putting myself out there in the way of getting this job, and like also trying to get more involved with like LinkedIn, I have to break out of this bubble, this safety bubble I've been in, because it's not even that safe. Like, I'm not satisfied. I mean, I'm getting more satisfied. Like, ever since I got the second job, I felt so much more like, okay, I have some kind of direction. At least I'm investing in something that I think I can already do. And so, and also learning new stuff. Like, I've already learned so much new stuff, and refreshing, because I've gotten very stale with my, like, remembering the programs and, like, even stuff about cameras. I'm like, how is it that I've forgotten this? It's only been, like, a year and a half. I feel like that's not very long, but.
No, that's good, though.
So old.
Because you're recognizing it, though. Like, you're able to, like, see, like, okay, I'm a little rusty on these cameras. Let me pay extra attention or ask Sydney these questions to be able to get back into it.
Have you? Like, what do you think you've been doing to, like, help set yourself up for your next path or journey or...
Yeah, so my third year, I think I had maybe 3 semesters left of college. I wanted to change to psychology. And my mom was so mad. She was like, you cannot change to psychology when you're this close to graduation. And I didn't, because it was the safe thing to do, because I was almost already finished. Like, I had a year and a half left of school. And so I didn't do that. And then my entire, almost like between that year and a half, I tried to start, so there's this group that I tried to start at University of Mary. It's called Active Minds, which essentially is like student advocates for like mental health on like campuses across the U.S. And so being personally affected by mental health, essentially I had all of these things going on in college, and the way that the college handled the process was not, it was really messy, and it was not professional, and it was just a lot, and I don't think it was something that they were like professionally advised to deal with. And so with this group, like, students would advocate for themselves for better resources and better, like, just like group support. And so I essentially tried to start it for a year and a half, and it got shot down time after time after time, which was really frustrating. And it was like, okay, like lots of tears were shed. There was a lot of really good, like, small victories of like getting in contact with this person and getting approval from this person, but not from this person. And so it was like a really big, just like up and down roller coaster. And so long story short, the club was never made. Like, it is what it is. But the things that we were able to accomplish by trying to start that club, like, we were able to get like the suicide prevention line on the back of their student IDs, and like just little things and events that were started that never would have been able to start unless we started the conversation. And so I think the biggest thing is like taking those passions of like, either with like your nonprofit. You didn't even like, what are you passionate about, Sarah?
I don't know. I really wanted to work with, like, when I was thinking about doing the psychology, I really wanted to work with kids who have been, like, victims of crimes or have actually, like, committed the crime themselves. Mm-hmm. So I was really interested in that. But I just always think back to, like, how, and I don't think that religion, like, repressed me as a child. Mm-hmm. I just see how it has skewed my view of, like, how the world works. Mm-hmm. And, like, how, you know, I was very, very sheltered, and so I didn't know a lot. And how now I really struggle with a lot of my mental health because I deal with so much guilt, and mm-hmm. a lot of it does have to do with, like, my parents' religious beliefs mm-hmm. and, like, how, again, they raised me. So I'm not really sure if I can kind of push that into something. I thought about trying to do counseling, like be a counselor for kids who have like come out of like super religious situations. Mm-hmm. But I'm not really sure. I mean, like, I'm passionate right now. I'm passionate about learning to learning advertising and understanding how you appeal to people, because it's something I definitely didn't learn in school. And like in every business, I mean, there's some form of advertising going on. There's some form of call to action going on to clients. So I guess at the moment, I'm just really passionate about trying to learn more video editing and graphic design, stuff like that. But I don't know about in the broader sense. I have a lot of different, like, that's, again, I feel like my mind is always going in different directions on, like, what should I be spending my time mm-hmm. with or in. And that's definitely a struggle for me. I think also because I think I have ADHD. So I'm not diagnosed, though.
Girl, we all got something.
I'm like, don't we all?
Yeah, we all got a little funk in our systems.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I think the key that I've been like trying to figure out is, so your passion with nonprofit, your passion with kids and advertising and mental health for both of us, all of us. I think if we can use the skill set that we have here, that we're using every single day, so creating content, editing video, and like making websites and graphics and all that stuff, finding a way to benefit what we're passionate about with the skills we already have. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of these things that we're mentioning have zero budget of marketing and have zero like knowledge of like how to start. And so I think that's something that I'm eventually going to go down to. It's just like right now I'm trying to soak up as much as I can and learn as much as I can so that when I do go down that road, I can like be a good pillar for them and be like, she knows what she's talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I think I know, I'm getting there, but it's just like, if I approach, whether it be a nonprofit, a charity, like a center, XYZ, and offer, like, just be like, hey, I want to help you guys. Like, this is what I do, and I know I'm good at it. Like, what can I do to help you? Like, be able to, like, answer questions they have and provide, like, this is what it's probably going to cost. Like, blah, 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 blah. So, yeah. That's what I'm trying to do which has been interesting to say the least.
No, yeah, that's something that I say all the time. Like, because to sit and say I enjoy every single thing that I have to do at work would be a lie. But learning to look at those things and say, okay, well, this can be useful here. Like, I know I want to do this in the future, so that this would be useful here. Mm-hmm. And then that's like how, for me, it's like how unenjoyable things become more enjoyable for me.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, has there ever been a time where you felt like you were supposed to be doing something else? Like, where, like for me, example, in college, I was like, where you almost have like an identity crisis. Like, you're just like, this is not what I'm supposed to do.
I feel like that's me every day.
Yeah, I'm like, that's me every single day.
I feel like I'm constantly just thinking, am I bored or am I just being consistent? Mm-hmm. And then from there, if I figure out, yeah, I am bored, then maybe it is time to move on. And sometimes I actually question myself whenever I feel like I'm not doing a good job of it too. I'm like, this is time just to throw in the towel. But it's like, oh yeah, no, that's just giving up. Mm-hmm. So.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Like, has there been a time where you had the identity crisis?
Oh, yeah. I feel like that's never ending for me. I feel like it's probably a normal feeling for a lot of people our age, like being so young. I think for me, like, that happened when I'm like very like when I'm being extremely anal and like super hard on myself. Mm-hmm. I don't know, I keep losing my train of thought. That happens for me when I'm being extremely hard on myself. And I feel like I'm not living in my purpose. That's what it is. That's what I was trying to say. Because that's something that's really big for me, is like doing the work that God created me to do. So they say, but just being like a decent human being and like helping other people. Mm-hmm. So sometimes like being here, I'm like, I'm not helping people. Like, because I'm like sitting behind a desk, like at a computer, I'm like, I'm not living up to my purpose. That's not true. Mm-hmm. So I like have those moments often, but then it's like, again, having to tell yourself, well, no, because when you think about it, this is helping you get to the next step, like the smallest of tasks that you do every single day and will help you like get to where you're trying to go in life. But you just have to like constantly remind yourself that like, no, I need this. Like, this lesson's valuable, even if you don't really see the value in it. And being intentional about like trying to learn what the value is and what you're doing.
Right.
If you're just looking at it like, I hate this, like they're like this isn't worth my time. Like,
right.
You'll never learn the lesson. So you're gonna always end up, even if you leave this place, you're gonna always end up in a place just like that because you have not learned the lesson that you're supposed to learn.
Mm-hmm. I feel like that's a big thing. I don't want to say for our generation, but every single person or most people have this mindset of like, I want to change the world. And especially with like all of like, I don't want to say protests, but like actually standing up and like saying something. Like, there's a lot of that throughout like different parts of our generation, which is really good. Mm-hmm. But a lot of that comes with like, there's so much of our personalities that are hard on ourselves. And so at that point, you're just like constantly questioning yourself. Like, you're just like, okay, is this what I want to do? Whether it be like you're questioning your career, your personality, your like religion, your sexuality, like all of these different things. Like, that's why all of this is stirring up, because before, like, if you think about like our parents' generation, they didn't have all of these different things that were talked about because nobody was quote unquote questioning them.
I think that that's very true, what you're saying. But with us, like, we have this victim mentality about our generation, and nobody wants to work. Like, and I don't mean in the sense that I said earlier, like, I don't want to work. I mean, like, literally everybody wants to be their own boss. Everybody wants to be an entrepreneur. Everybody cannot be an entrepreneur. Everybody cannot be their own boss. Not everybody's meant to be a leader, and that's okay.
Right.
Like, sometimes there is power in being a follower.
Right.
A lot of us have missed that. So we're like, we want to do things our own way. We want to start our own things. I'm like, but really, how, like, asking yourself, like, how does that work?
Right. And a lot of time, like, as hard as it is, like, I had some friends in high school that were like, oh, I'm going to go do this. And you know when, like, somebody tells you something and you're, like, watching it fail, and you're like, that's not going to work. Like, sometimes you just have to let it happen.
Most definitely. A lot of the times people don't, I'm seeing for myself, people don't want to do the footwork. People want to, like, jump out there and immediately, like, have success.
Yeah.
That's not real.
Right. So
It kind of feeds with our, like, need to have everything right now.
Exactly.
I mean, we have so many devices that give us exactly what we want right then.
Instant gratification.
Yeah, and so it just seems like it's,
yeah.
I don't know.
Well, and then that also goes into, like, I don't even know. Like, I have never seen so many, I don't know if this is normal with, like, other generations, but so many young people getting married and having kids and, like, buying real estate this young. Like, that's really great.
It's huge. Yeah. That's really, really good. That's really, really good. I think the real estate is really good. Not saying that the marriage isn't good, because that's huge. That's huge as well. But the real estate, I feel like that's like huge, because that's the biggest purchase most people are ever going to have in their lifetime is buying a home. But I think, like, the marriage and kids, like, being in the South, that's all I've ever seen. So that's pretty, like,
That's really
traditional and normal here. Getting married young, having babies, that's completely normal.
Obviously, there's a lot of factors that can affect what you do.
Most definitely.
And so, has there ever been a time where you feel like you're not challenging yourself enough to get where you want to be, for your dream job, organization, whatever it might be? Have you felt like you kind of hit a plateau and you don't, whether you even don't know, or you just are, I don't want to say lazy, but
Lazy.
are just passing time?
Or not inspired.
Yeah.
Right now, I would say no. I said I was going to give a shout out, and my boo, I'm going to give a shout out to my boo. I'm literally always working or thinking about, like, some type of work. So I would say no right now, but I have felt that way before. Just not wanting to, like, try something new because of, like, being scared of the outcome. That's 100%. That would be my answer. Like, in college, like, I wasn't someone that, going back to college, I wasn't someone that, like, would, when I lived in Lafayette, I was more active. But when I was at LSUS, like, there wasn't a bunch of stuff going on, but, like, the stuff that was, like, it was just kind of like, I don't want to put myself out there because of, like, the fear of rejection. Or the fear of not being good, or the fear of, like, not being good enough, or, like, there's already someone that's doing that, or, like, you can tell yourself a million different things, and then, like, yourself's gonna believe it, and you just won't, and then you'll never try. So I've definitely been there before.
I feel like it's really hard for me to be satisfied with myself.
But
Like,
I don't
one of
feel
the
like
things
you
I
ever
really-
should be.
Yeah.
Not 100%. Like, I've made it. This is it.
I mean, it's even hard for me to be like, yeah, good job today.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes it's just like I struggle to like, for instance, I can't take naps. It is extremely hard for me to take naps.
I'm the same way.
Because as soon as I lay down, I think my to-do list is right over there. And of course I haven't finished everything, because my to-do lists are pretty much impossible to finish. It's because I'm just going to go ahead and cram everything I can for that day. And then whatever doesn't get done, it goes on the next list for the next day. And so kind of builds up, but I think that I'm finally coming around to realizing that like my worth is not always in my work, and it's not always about what I'm doing. You know, it's my intentions behind it.
Honestly, I would challenge you to just keep doing like little small things. Like you really kind of, it makes you nervous because that way you'll always have that sense of high. Like,
you mean just like what do you mean exactly?
Like, so you know how like for a while you were putting off like getting the second job, and then you did that, and like so like you have like this like I don't want to say like high, but it's like you're excited. Like you're like, okay, like I really am doing like
what I said I was gonna
do. Like it's almost like your life is, I hate to say more purposeful, but you feel like I'm doing something good. Mm-hmm. So like constantly challenging yourself and doing like something small, like every now and then, I feel like that feeling won't ever go away. Mm. Yeah. Like riding that high literally continuously, even if it's like the smallest thing. Like you're like, dang, I washed my car today. Like, I don't know, but yeah. Yeah, just like that's like it's a great feeling. Like that's like
to get something off your to-do list that's been on there forever.
Yeah, or just to even feel like, okay, my life really is like I really am doing something with my life, because I feel like now we're like again at that age where it's like some of your friends are like graduated and they're doing like amazing, other friends graduated aren't using their degrees, other friends still in school, and then like I feel like I'm somewhere in the middle. And then I'm sure I have friends that look at me like, no, like I wish I was in your position, but then I'm like looking at other people and I'm like, mm-hmm. So I'm right there in the middle. But to constantly be able to say like, okay, I checked this off, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, like this, it's almost like, okay, well, I'm getting to where I'm trying to go. It's like, it's like a nice reminder, like when you're able to like do those things.
Yeah.
I feel like because we can see what everybody else is doing nowadays, so much easier to be unsatisfied with ourselves, and also to make out that someone else's life is better than ours, especially because, of course, I mean, most people put out the best of themselves on the internet. And I feel like that's a big factor, because I'm like over here, I'm 25, this 16-year-old is like the most famous TikToker in the world.
Multi-millionaire.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm like, I will never have that amount of money, and I'll never like have a comfortable life like that. It's also like, I mean, it's not even but I can't even compare it to myself, because I don't want to do any of that. Like I don't want to do TikTok dances. Yeah. Like that's something that's not appealing to me. Shouldn't always be comparing just what someone has. It's like, what are they doing like with themselves too? And are they benefiting like people around them? I guess you can compare it that way.
That's a good way to gauge it, I think.
Yeah.
Like, is this feeling valid? It's probably not, because I don't even know what so-and-so got going on, like, outside of, like, what I'm seeing on their screen.
Like, I look at people, like, you guys know who Mr. Beast is?
Yes.
You do? He's, like, this big influencer, like, filthy rich. I look at people like him, and I'm like, is this really what he wanted to do? Like, you're filthy rich, right? Good for you. That's awesome. But, like, where do you feel like I'm doing good with my life? Or do you really just not care?
Do you feel like he doesn't put out good vibes or content or anything?
It's not even that, but like, where does he get like the warm and fuzzies? Like, where does he feel like I'm doing something that not only that I wanted to do, but also like I'm putting good into the world that I'm taking out of it. Like, I'm changing. I don't want to say that everybody needs to feel like they have to change the world, right? But he's putting something out that he's, like, worked hard for. Like, where does he get that? Like, I don't know where he started, so I can't necessarily say, like, oh, it was just handed to him, right? But, like, you see people like that, like, where they are now, and you're just, like, you can either be, like, super envious, or you can be, like, whatever. But then you also are just like, is this what you want to do? Because like right now he's selling like these chocolate bars, right? So he made like a contract with like Hershey's, Nestle, whatever, and he made these chocolate bars, and he has like, he's going like Willy Wonka with it. Like, if you get like a golden ticket, then you get like however much money or whatever.
Oh, wow.
And so it's like he's making all this money by selling like these chocolate bars. But at the end of the day, like when somebody does get that ticket, like is that his warm and fuzzy after making X amount of profits? Or is it like, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Well, and then like you see like all these donations he's doing and you're like, is that 1% of his earnings?
Yeah.
It's like you'll never know, but like at the same time, like, I don't know. And then you go into the thought of like, well, at least he thought of doing it and all these other things. But anyways.
It's just a tax write-off. I'm kidding.
Oh,
I mean, no, I think it definitely is probably.
Yeah.
And that's a bonus part. I mean, he donates so much money. I'm sure he, but for him to, if you look at the amount of money he donates and like gives to people, it is insane. Yeah, it's interesting
I would
enough.
have to look him up because I've never heard of him before.
I'm not just like binging for fun. I'm like doing other stuff, like cleaning my room or something. But
right, like it's on in the background kind of thing.
but yeah, he's a good example. Mr. Beast.
Mr. Beast. Yeah, I've never heard of him before.
It's interesting.
I'll have to look him up on YouTube.
Describe a situation where you felt like you would never overcome the task at hand. So like whether if you were like learning something new, whether it be like in college or here or at previous jobs or...
I mean, I feel like I have a bunch of situations like that in life because like I'm super dramatic. So I always feel like, oh my God, this is the end of the world when it's not. But like a situation for me in college, not freshman year, my senior year, I got a 4.0 the first semester. Right. I was working 2 jobs and I got a 4.0 the first semester. And then that second semester, I like had a political science class and it was like just an elective and he was just terrible. Like he was literally the worst. It's just like the way he went about doing things in his class just didn't make sense. And I messaged him asking him for like a meeting and he told me no because I passed the test. I just wasn't doing good on the assignments. And I'm like, right, because your instructions aren't clear. So that was like a time where I was just like, this is just not gonna end well. And I ended up getting a B in the class and I had A's everywhere else. So that was super annoying. But that's just like something small. First for me, like it was never really like that a lot in school because school has always been super easy for me. Like it's either black and white. So like the instructors give you like what they're like looking for in the class and then you just like execute it. But like getting out of school and coming into the real world and like having this is my first job. Like Sydney's really big on like systems and he's a great teacher. But like when you're new and like this is your first, you don't want to mess up. And that's something that we've talked about. Like I don't ask enough questions. So I felt like that a lot, like not a lot, but like when I first starting here, I felt like that, like I'm never going to be able to like get all this stuff down. I still feel like that sometimes when like I look at all my tasks. Just last week I asked you like, how do you manage all your tasks? Because it's just very overwhelming. So I think that anytime like you're put, I'm not going to say that generally, anytime I'm put in a new situation in life where I just feel overwhelmed, that's often a feeling that I get like I'm never going to be able to like finish or complete all this or whatever it is that I'm looking at. Did you ask me how I overcome that? Was that like have you felt that way? But how do you?
Where you felt like you never could finish it.
Yeah, last week I felt like that a lot, and then just like taking a deep breath and like prioritizing certain things, you eventually you're able to knock stuff out. But also knowing that I have to do stuff my way. Just because Sydney tells me like, Christian, look at projects. I look at projects in the classic view doesn't mean that I have to look at projects in the classic view. It's just he's just telling me like this has been helpful for me. But that's something that I had to learn. Like just because someone's offering this insight doesn't mean that I have to actually follow it. Like just do things that work for me.
Right.
And as long as things are getting done, everything's gonna be okay in the world.
Yes, ma'am.
It's like confidence in yourself that you can still get it done.
Exactly. Like learning to have that confidence and like it's okay, Christian. Like it's going to be okay. Like you're going to get it done. But giving yourself permission to like actually be confident in yourself.
Well, I think that also provides like a clear-headed state of mind to get the task done. It's like if you're over here like freaking out, which is something I do on a regular basis. then I'm like, I don't get it done.
Yeah.
I either like freeze up and I'm like, I'll do it later and don't do it.
Yeah.
And I mean, sometimes you do need a little break, you know, but yeah, I definitely feel like I tend to close things off instead of just realizing that this is a wider, like, instead of it just being like, okay, you do this, A, B, and C, and you're done. It's like, no, it actually means that there's like a wider door, and it means I can do things maybe even a totally different way.
Yeah.
Because like I can't figure it out this one way, so maybe it's another way. It's like I just got to get out of this mindset of like black and white, and it's more gray.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I feel like that also has a lot to do with like we were taught that it was black or white.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of gray, even like the school system and the way that like children are taught, because I went to public school my whole life. So like literally putting kids in a classroom and having a teacher teach one specific way, and the kids that get it, and if they don't, then like they're bad or they're like not that smart. It's like, no,
Right.
like everything's not black or white. You can't teach everyone the same way.
Right.
And like, so I feel like that literally sets you up for failure as an adult.
That's interesting. Yeah. So, when you have like these tasks and like these different things where you're feeling like super overwhelmed, like how are you able to calm yourself down and like go through it and be like, it's okay? Like, I know you talked about like just because somebody says to like, this is what I do doesn't mean I have to do it. But how have you been able to like execute the task? Like, is there a specific way where you're just like, do you write the things down and then check them off? Or
For me, that helps because we use Zoho projects. And so for the week, listeners don't know, but for the week, like we pretty much get everything that we have to do. And then like, it's just like all piled up. It looks like it's piled up when you're first opening it up on Monday morning. And so for a long time, like the view that I was looking at, it just wasn't showing me everything that I needed to get done. So I wasn't getting everything done in a week or in my week. And so I had a bunch of overdue stuff on Mondays or whatever day that it was due. It's just like I was just not getting stuff done efficiently. Efficient was not my word. But yeah, after like talking to you, Sydney, just like listening to just how everybody else operates. Cause at first I was like, I don't like the way it looks. Like the way y'all look at it, I'm like, I don't like the way that looks. Cause visually I'm like, it's not pleasing. I'm like, girl, everything's not going to be aesthetically pleasing at work. Like that was my first come to Jesus moment. Like what? And then once I like got my whole list of everything, I like keep like a notepad on my desk and I write everything down. Because for me, like having it on my computer, that's great. But I actually like being able to like put
Check
pen to
things
paper and
off.
check things off.
yeah.
So that works for me.
I mean, I guess it starts with like me trying to get it trying to get structure. So writing things down definitely helps, and just like putting out a little bit of a game plan.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I've just dealt with so much anxiety that sometimes it feels like I'm handling it, but I still know that I'm having like a little bit of a panic attack. But just slowing down and like the most basic things like taking a deep breath, taking a 5-minute break, and just like also remembering like what reality is, which is that I can do this. Even if I don't know how to do it, I can figure out how to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
And just to like sit down and do it. I just think that avoidance has been like the thing for me for so long.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a bad habit. It's hard to break.
For me, avoidance. Oh, yeah. Like even with like being in school, not wanting to do homework, and it's like being invited to go to dinner. It's like, I know I shouldn't be doing this, but I really don't want to work on this. So, and this is like frustrating me. And I'm like, and my mom always says that if I get frustrated, take a step back and like go do something else, then come back to it. And I would use that as an excuse to like avoid whatever the situation was that I didn't actually want to. So, but that's something that like I am very grateful for being here. Like Sydney's very like patient, and like he's a great teacher. So, And even in like in his moments where like he's like struggling to like break it down so that it's as simple to him as it is to us, he still tries to do that. So I'm super grateful for that.
Yeah, because some people would just be like,
and he's super patient as far as like understanding, okay, you had a lot on your plate this week, like breathe, like it's going to be okay.
Yeah, I feel like even when he was talking in there about like asking, like finding 2 questions to ask each person. And then after that, he was like, oh yeah, you're going to be on a podcast tomorrow and you're going to have to talk about video editing with podcasting. Immediately my brain was like, you don't want to do that. You don't know how to do that. And also like your terminology, like my terminology is so bad when it comes to like editing, because I'm just like trying to brush up on it. And then I was like, but you can do it.
Yeah.
You can do it. Like, why would you not do it?
Because you are doing it.
Yeah, like I'm going to have to do it. And so it's just like, it's just so weird. Like my mind just plays tricks on me all the time.
Yeah.
Just like.
Or she be trying it.
Yeah, trying to.
Ooh, yeah, challenging yourself to just. But that's so uncomfortable. And you have to be like mentally in a different space to like challenge yourself constantly. But you do that though, literally every single day when you go running.
yeah.
Challenging myself. I feel like that's more of like a habitual, like I need this.
Yeah, but it's still a challenge because like even if you like run like 5 minutes more than what you usually do,
Oh yeah.
it's like that's you challenging yourself every single day.
I feel like it's gotten to the point where like physical challenges are so much easier than my mental ones.
I feel like it's usually like that.
Maybe it's just normal.
I feel like there is no like, it's hard to find like that happy balance of like you're challenging yourself mentally, like physically you're doing a good job, like you're growing it, because really challenging yourself is just like you're growing in all these different aspects, but just like growing in all these different aspects in every aspect of your life. It's like, how do you do that? Like that's the thing. Like how do you do that and not lose your mind?
One step at a time.
I don't
Literally.
know. I lose my mind. I just
Like-
choose losing my mind.
I think you'd have to take it in like chapters of your life. Like these months I want to grow mentally and I really want to hit the ground running and I do this amount of mental exercises a day. And then once I'm done with that, because if you do them all at once, you're going to overwhelm yourself.
Burn out.
And you're going to definitely set yourself up for failure.
Yeah.
I think it comes down to like having patience to follow through with something.
Absolutely.
Because again, it goes back to us wanting everything right now. But especially when it comes to like mental stuff or like even building a brand or, you know, just like having the podcast and us not having as many listeners, we're going to just keep on doing it until we see results. And that's like all the good things come with time.
If there's one thing I've learned in life is that if like you're not healthy in your head, like nothing's gonna work.
It's going to affect everything else,
Everything.
relationships, how you see yourself, how you interact with just even random people. I feel like the amount of like kindness and patience you have for someone else like doubles whenever you're that way for yourself.
Something that I always say is anything worth having doesn't come easy. Anything like truly worth having like won't come easy. That's like goals that you set for yourself. It's not really ever going to be easy to achieve those. Relationships, friendships, jobs, like you're going to have to put in the work. It's literally looking at life is like working out, really. It's like those slow gains, but you just kind of keep doing it until like you start seeing like the results that you're looking for.
There was this guy, shout out to Josh Warren. I met him at BNI, and me and him went to lunch at Rhino's, and he said, if it doesn't make you nervous, then you probably shouldn't do it.
It's not big enough.
And that just like shook me to the core. Because like when I'm telling you about emailing this potential guest, like I'm going to throw up. Because it makes me nervous because I care about it.
Yeah.
Because like if it doesn't make you nervous or it doesn't make you like nervous. You shouldn't do it. Because it's like when you think about like for people who are going through weight loss or whatever else, like it makes them nervous to step on the scale or start working out because they know it's going to be hard. Mm-hmm. Or all these different things. Like they know there's a potential of facing rejection and it makes them nervous.
Yeah. But then that's where, like, even, I don't know, because everything is, like, mindset. Like, because once you, like, really, truly, like, jump in it and, like, you're doing it for you and no other outside factors other than, like, I'm doing this for myself and myself only. Once you start doing that and, like, you start seeing whatever the result is that you're, like, looking for, you become addicted to that. And so the fear of...
Absolutely.
Goes away because you become addicted to that feeling of whatever, like success or,
which can also be dangerous though.
But too much of anything good can be bad.
Yeah.
So it's literally like, what is it? The circle with the half white, half black. You know what I'm talking about?
Yin and yang.
Yeah, yin and yang. Like, I don't want to. This is good. This is far.
It's good that thinking that you were there. I was like, what?
I've watched Airbender, The Last Airbender.
Yeah, but it's like that. Like, good and bad have to exist. Good and evil. Like, it all has to coexist.
Yeah.
Well, I've been trying to set myself up to just not be disappointed. So kind of in the way of like, what am I doing this for? Like, what's the reasoning behind it? If it's that all my happiness is going to be set up if I do this thing or not, no, that's out. That can't even be an option for me anymore because that it just increases this awareness of like, I might be rejected or I might fail. And so to me, it's just like another learning opportunity. So it's like my dad was saying, he was like, even if this second job doesn't work out, even if they just randomly fire you, whatever it is, for whatever reason, he was like, just see it as you having an opportunity to see what you want to do, what you can do, what's out there, like all these different things to learn from that. And, you know, I can only make it a good thing. Just like nerves, making it more like, I'm excited. I'm not nervous. I'm excited. You know, just changing my mind so that it's more based in reality, but also just more hopeful, just more positive.
Yeah, 100%. The way you go into things, like thinking about stuff like that, will determine like the outcome of your life. I feel like you'll go further in life with that type of mindset than constantly like feeding or telling yourself something else or something not as kind.
Well, I feel like it keeps you humble too. It's like not this sense of like you're entitled to this one thing because it will make you happy. Like that's the only thing that can make you happy.
And people see that in you. Like the way you treat yourself, people, I can look at somebody and tell when they're like mean to themselves. Like just naturally, I'm like,
they're like confident and like themselves.
When someone's kind to themselves, and you can tell the way that people treat themselves. And so you treating yourself nice and not like in a humble, arrogant way, but just like she's kind to herself. She has to be a kind person. You have to be a kind person to be kind to yourself because you know all of the stuff that you have to deal with and that you've done. And so that will get you further in life, I believe.
I agree with that.
So, last question. Do you guys believe that everyone has only one calling in life?
No.
I know.
Okay, why?
Just like I feel like there's not the one.
Yeah.
Like I think that you can choose to love somebody and your personalities go well together and you can stay together for the rest of your life. But there's not some kind of magical thing where it's like easy or you just get this thing and you didn't work for it. Well, it's just like only giving one person one direction in life. And it goes back to everything being black or white. And it's like you have no other, like someone being creative, your creativity can go into like, I feel like almost any line of work.
Still, yeah.
I mean, like even like doing numbers. Like I feel like creativity, it comes with more of like you knowing how to interact with people or you knowing how to like be organized even.
Right.
You know, it's just like using your mind and being open and not like putting yourself in like a box. Like my mom is always saying how she's not creative. She's like, Sarah's the only one creative. I'm like, just because you don't know how to like draw somebody's face doesn't mean you're not creative. And I think a lot of people think that's just being artistic, which definitely puts people in a box. And if I feel like there's only one thing I could do in my life, I feel like I'd be screwed.
Yeah.
Because I have no idea, and I've already done like several different things. So
Yeah.
it's like a shoe seller / manager / receiving and shipping / cleaning shoes
/
/ like picking out clothes for us to buy, plus doing video editing. Like that's all a little different.
But that's like exciting though. I feel like when people limit themselves to doing just like one thing because they feel like I have to do that because like I feel like this is my purpose, like this is my one thing in life.
Or people have told me I'm good at this.
Yeah, I'm like, but like that's so sad. Like how boring. But that's just like my skewed way of thinking because I'm pretty sure there are people that are like, no, like there's beauty in that, I'm sure. But to me, I'm like that just wouldn't seem fulfilling.
Yeah.
And that's me saying I want to do nonprofit work, but that doesn't mean like I want to do nonprofit work where I'm like specifically like tutoring like girls every single day after school. No, like I feel like you can do what you're doing and just find different avenues in the way that looks. It doesn't have to look the same way. Like, so.
Have you ever heard of the Renzi Learning Center? I don't think I thought they closed it a little bit during COVID, but I think it's back up again. I think they have an Instagram, but you could check it out. It's in Highland off of, what is the street? It's like between Kings and Stoner Avenue.
I was literally
It's like
just
in that neighborhood. Oh, I think it's close to Egan Street. So it's not like the best street ever.
Yeah.
But it's like a big house, and they have kids come in after school, and they get tutored mostly.
See, that's the type of thing that I think is so cool. Like just those types of programs.
They have like art classes. I did 2 or 3 of them where I was like one time when I was at Fairfield, we filmed a video there, and then the other 2 times I was substituting for somebody. Like it was just like a little film class thing that we did.
That's cool. Me and Mark were just talking about Highland because to me Highland's like the best part of Shreveport. Because the people there are like,
it just feels like there's more the most culture there too.
In Highland, yeah. And people are just like themselves. And
neighborly
people are
too.
So neighborly, yeah. So that's exciting. I didn't know about that, but that's so exciting. And I was just talking about Highland, and so no duh, it's in Highland. Highland's a close part of Shreveport.
I think there's a period in your life where you know that you're in just the biggest part of your life. You know you're thriving the most. Whether it be you just became a mother or you just got the job you've been working so hard for. I wouldn't want to say that's your calling though. I think that there's specific seasons in your life where you thrive the most, whether it be under a lot of stress and you got through something that you didn't think you'd be able to get through, or you starting something new, or you cutting something off that was burdening you, or whatever it might be. But like, I wouldn't say it's like your calling to do those things, because you can do any of those things within like whatever you're supposed to be doing in that moment. Whether you believe somebody has pre-filmed your life for you or like has it figured out for you and you're trusting them, or if you just feel like you're walking through it. But I really think that everybody has a time and a place where they know that they're going to thrive the most. I don't know if I would call it their calling, though. Does that make sense? Kind of?
No.
No?
Yeah, I'm saying like, no, yeah, I'm following. I say no before I say yeah.
Okay.
But that's just like pastors. Like their calling is to pastor. so some of them say. But then they still have other jobs. A lot of them, that's not their only job. Well, I'm not going to say a lot of them. There are some of them that's not their only job. But I don't necessarily think you have to limit yourself to one thing just because you feel like something else is your passion. Because I'm passionate about helping people. I don't know. But I'm not going to just limit myself to just that just because I feel like that's my one passion. Because I feel like when you're trying different things, you can find out, oh, I'm passionate about this too. Just feel like you're limiting yourself. You're putting yourself, you're living in a box when you do that.
I feel like passions too are in a lot of senses like they're broad, like ideas or like a certain type of thing that you like to do, but from there it's finding what niche, like what's your job niche within that range. Just like I like to help people. Okay, well I can do so much with that.
Exactly.
Almost every business needs somebody to help them.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like HR, whatever it is, there's always an opportunity to just benefit people and put good stuff out there.
Yeah, I agree. I don't have to be a nurse. Like I just feel like that's.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally get that because my parents wanted me to go into healthcare, and I was just like,
No.
not like that.
I don't even know what my parents wanted me to do. I know that they told me I could not be an artist or painter because that makes no money.
Yeah.
But
I've
I mean,
heard that so many times.
to a certain extent, I don't know
That's
if I
why
had
we're
the
all in
skills
marketing, 'cause
to
we're all
make
doing-
money. Yeah.
We're artists, but digitally, so.
I've heard that. I've heard that so much. Like, that's so
It's the idea of a
unfortunate.
starving artist.
I love it.
I
My
mean, I just
mom-
don't think it's accurate.
It's not. Me and my mom, it's a running, it's not even a joke. It's the truth at this point. I love artists. Like, what's your type? Artist. Like, as long as you're like a creative in some form, fashion, whatever. And my mom has always been like, I don't know, it's just something unappealing about not being able to eat dinner, Christian. I'm like, sandwiches. Like, I don't know. It's just like, I don't know.
I wonder if that has something to do with, I think people who recognize that they can be creative are confident because they like can see themselves and what they can do and they're not scared to put themselves out there. Maybe it's that you're also just like attracted to people that are like super confident in themselves.
I think that creatives usually have a very different way of thinking about the world around them, and they help me unlock different parts of my brain.
Yeah.
We don't use 100% of our brain. So to like meet somebody that's like, oh, excuse me, Sarah, to meet someone that's like, well, no, actually, I see it this way, and then be able to like walk you through that process, it's amazing to me. Like, that's like beautiful. So then I'm like, I just love this. Like, I love it here. My mom's like, I love being able to eat at a nice restaurant better. I'm like, oh, that's you.
Well, different priorities.
Yeah. And
And it might be just like an
she's not
age
mean
thing
about
too.
it. Yeah, but I think it's more of an
Yeah.
age thing because most of my friends, I surround myself usually with like creatives, and a lot of them, they're like their parents. Like I said at the beginning of this episode, my friend was telling he's a creative, but his parents are like, as long as he's working a job and he's making at least $50,000 a year, they're fine. And he's like, but that doesn't even make sense because one, that's not even a lot of money. And two, that doesn't make me happy. But the whole being an artist thing, you're not even making $50,000 a year.
Right.
But to us, we're like right now, like I know what I'm capable of. Right now, it's not my season of making 50,000,
Right.
and that's just what it is. But it's like Isaac said this in his podcast. It's kind of like you have to like believe in yourself and know like that you're capable of doing it. What it is that you're trying to get done, and not even worry about like the naysayers or like whatever's going on in the back, because you're gonna have that, and it sucks when it comes from like your parents or your friends or like the people that are the closest to you. But
Or the people you look up to.
yeah, but I mean like that's just what's gonna make that victory that much sweeter.
Right.
So
I think it's just that we're more prone to believe like close friends and family just because we have been vulnerable around them and they like know us the best.
Right.
But it's also all of it is through perspective. It's like I see you this way, just like a parent might see their child as like it's still their responsibility, like even when they're grown up. And it's like if there's something wrong with my child, it's my fault. So like denial, or you know, just like people who struggle with relationships with their parents. I feel like that's a big part of it. but it's like I don't have to see myself in the way that this person is telling me I am.
Yeah.
Like I don't have to always take other people's perspective of me or their, even like a lot of the time it's not even their perspective, it's just what I think they're thinking about me. And then it's like, oh wait, that's just what I think about myself.
That's when you go like when you go deep into it, that's usually what it is. It's like, no, that's really how I feel about myself, but I'll blame it on my mama. Like, that's true. Like usually we're the root of most of the things that
our
we're
own
thinking,
problems.
people think. Yeah.
What's one piece of advice you'd get to anybody who feels like they're in a job right now that's worthless, they think is worthless to where they want to go? So example would be like somebody working at McDonald's who wants to be like a music producer someday.
100%. You are exactly where you're supposed to be. Like you're there for a reason. You have to, and I feel like I say this all the time, but you genuinely have to like switch your mindset. Like how you think about things, that will be the reality of your life. Like the way you speak to yourself, what you say out loud. If you're constantly saying like, I hate this job, I'm never going to get to XYZ, you won't, because you're telling yourself that. And you're like, everything that you consume is important. So what you're hearing is important. And if you're literally listening to yourself, do I recognize right now that I'm talking that I'm listening to my own voice? No, but I am. If you're constantly saying this out loud, you're going to believe it. Like you're telling yourself that. So just like be patient, because everything like plays out in God's timing, not our own. And purposeful pain. Like jokingly, I said that when me and you were on the podcast that we did a few weeks ago. And I was like, but that's beautiful, because a lot of the things that we go through, it's purposeful, but it feels painful at the time. And so when you're in a season or a place in your life and you feel like, oh, I hate this place, I'm not going to get to where I want to go. It's like, no, this is tell yourself like, this is purposeful pain. Like I'm going through this for a reason. Like this is going to get me to the next level. So just trying to like change your view of the world or your view of your world, your current situation, will help you not be so miserable. That's all I got. That's it.
What do you got
for me?
Well, I mean, I would definitely agree. I think you summed it up pretty well. I will say also maybe use the resources you already have. You can turn a hobby into a full-time job, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
It might take a little bit more work. But at the end of the day, the best thing about working hard is that you can say, hey, I did this, I accomplished this thing. Mm-hmm. Like only good can come out of it. Like the harder you work. And it might be that it turns out, I actually don't want to be a music producer. You know, maybe it's just something else. Like, yeah. I think that when
I
we
want
get
to
to
own McDonald's now. You never know what could happen.
I think that sometimes when we meet a goal, it just feels like we meet the goal and then it was not what we expected. I think just like keep your expectations in check too. And again, go back to, I'm doing this to learn something new, not so much like my whole happiness is placed on it.
Yeah.
Whether or not I succeed in this area.
Yeah.
Because like it's about failure and trial and failure.
Most of the times, like the jobs that we're working, it's like, this isn't even your forever. So why are you giving this so much of your like, not attention, but like, why are you investing all of your emotions here when you know you're not going to be here forever anyway?
Yeah.
Like, so.
Yeah.
Choosing logic over emotion sometimes too.
Work hard, play hard.
No Wiz Khalifa though. That's Wiz Khalifa.
What?
Yes.
I have no idea.
No Wiz Khalifa.
I feel like lots of people have said that before.
Well, he made it a song, so.
Yeah. He put a little R. Is that copyright? Isn't it a little R? What does that mean? Reserved or something?
I think.
Rights reserved.
What's one piece of advice you would give Mikayla?
I would just say stay open. Like, don't expect it to be a staircase to your goal. Like, it's simple. You just walk up.
Oh, a straight staircase?
Yeah.
Pivot.
You're going to be thrown across the floor. You're going to be swimming across the ocean. All these different things. And like, you're never going to know when it's going to happen.
And that's the craziest thing, because you'll never be fulfilled in life. When you think about it, it's like you'll get the fulfillment that you think you're looking for, and that's not going to be enough. And like, you will never really hit that moment until like, hopefully, like in your later days, and you're like, you're thinking back on your life and you're like, I lived a good life. Like, that's really when I'll know. Because right now I'm like, I won't ever know until that moment when I'm like sitting, maybe not sitting, but like when I'm older and I'm like
in a rocking chair,
just thinking like, I really did live a good life. But you don't know until like the moment hits you.
Yep.
I think that like being like satisfied and then content, of course those words are interchangeable, I think, but I think that we can be content and like happy with what we're doing, but still like want to push ourselves more. Because I think sometimes it's like, oh, I'm on this grind, like I just won't stop. And it's like, yeah, you're gonna kill yourself, honestly. Yeah. And then sometimes I feel like I do that, and that's just something like I struggle with. But I just think also balance, like be open, but also like have some balance in your life. Like maybe start to have some structure for yourself.
That's important. Very important.
And just like do things that make you feel good, whether it's like working hard or also having some playtime. Or just both of those things.
Yeah, that's important. Can I give one more piece of advice and then I'll be done talking? That's a lie. You're gonna fall. Like but then like when you do, obviously you can't stay down. But even if you can't walk, like crawl, and like you're not always sometimes you're gonna run. When you can't run, walk. When you can't walk, crawl. When you can't crawl, scoot. Like when you can't scoot,
ask for help.
Yeah, ask for help. But I'm saying that to say like, don't give up. Like you genuinely just can't give up. Like even like in those lowest of moments, like if you need to take a break, take a break. But sometimes we like take those breaks and like the breaks just like start taking us, and then the breaks start taking us, and then it's like, oh dang, all this time has passed. But it's just genuinely knowing I can't give up. Like if I rest, that's fine. But I need to know I'm resting. I'm not like, this isn't my stopping point.
Right.
Chris Brown said that. I'm always quoting somebody. Chris Brown said, it's a love song, but he says, so we'll crawl till we can walk again, and we'll run until we're strong enough to jump, and then we'll fly. But that's true in life. He was talking about love, but that's true in life. Thank you guys for joining us on the Young Creatives podcast. I hope that you really enjoyed today's episode. Would you say y'all had fun talking about it? It was like therapeutic for us. So yeah, we'll see you next time, and that's it. Bye.